Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming in today and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Lala, international real estate agent, and today we're talking about two stories that really highlight how different people handle relationships and family. First, we've got Cam Newton, who's talking about having even more kids despite already having 8 with 3 different women. Now, he says he's more afraid of getting divorced than just having more kids. And then on a sad note to me, this hurt my heart. We're going to discuss Judge Mathis and the news that his wife Linda has filed for divorce after nearly 40 years, y'all, 40 years of marriage because she's tired of not being his main priority. So today I have some co-queens that are absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy to spend some time with them. What a great way to spend a Monday. We have Moya, our tax professional, Athena Gardner, our CPA and wealth coach, and Lindsay Vertner, international mindset coach and speaker. We've been missing her. She went on vacay a little bit. And so, ladies, we're going to unpack all of this. Now, listen, if you're watching us, you know how we roll. You know how we roll. We like for you to talk with us. We love to hear what your comments are. Put those comments in. We'll address them and just keep the conversation going. So before we move forward, ladies, I'm going to let the video be pulled up. So let's see what Cam's got to say.
I understand a lot of people see my situation and not think that I'm not high functioning.
What situation?
See my situation. That's a very vague question, and this for you.
What situation are you referring to that they're looking at and thinking is not high functioning?
Just my life.
Your life entirely, or your life in relationships?
My life.
See, don't deflect. Let's stay here. Your life entirely, or your life in relationships?
Both, really.
And they think that you're low functioning.
No, I don't.
You just said people see your life and think you're not high functioning. The opposite of that would be low functioning.
No. Okay, so here you go. You're trying to take my intentions away from this. Can I correct it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or can I give you more?
Yes, more information. Heck yeah.
So, I'm not married, right? I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
I didn't do my research. I thought it was 4, but 8. Okay.
No, baby.
Cool.
It's
by how
8.
many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more. Now.
By multiple women? What's the intent?
I just want God
about your wife?
I just want God to bring them.
Oh, okay. And you have, so you just.
Because my point is this. My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Brian, you said it, I didn't say it, I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active. Okay? So you're creating, in disclaimer, the kids are innocent, they are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies, because I can't wait to be a mom, and I love the kids, period. But you are proactively choosing where you want to be active at and where you want to take your time. You want to take your time in having a wife because of your own fears. But you will, and I say this with all respect and love, what I'm about to say next, okay, Cam? But you will selfishly create broken families, even if you're in their life and you're a proactive father, and I believe you're an amazing daddy. I can only imagine with just your presence and knowing you thus far. But these families are still broken. Every child cannot have Papa in the house with them. So some child, if not all will end up with some kind of deficit without daddy being there. Now.
Okay, first of all, ladies, I don't like his attitude, so I'm going to hold back a little bit on what I need to say because I would really love to see what you have to say. So let's start with Cam. He's got 8 kids with 3 different women and is now talking about wanting more. What is your gut reaction to this? I'm going to start with you, Moya.
Well, my gut reaction is really thinking about the kids, because she said something so important. They're going to all grow up, all or most. We don't know how long he's going to stay with his current partner, but without him actively in the home, therefore they have to accept a deficit or accept this lifestyle. And it seems very unfair to them to not have that and have his presence.
I think in the end the kids suffer, period. When you don't have, two parents in the home or two parents that can co-parent very well, it's the children that miss out on this. I mean, I often think of Nick Cannon. Cam's not the only one. Nick Cannon's got all these children, and he even said for Father's Day he was going to allow them to spend time with them. To me, there's something really wrong with that. And I know Mariah makes sure that she wants full custody. She said, because he's not really around a lot. So I would imagine this would be the same case with him too. Athena, what are your initial thoughts on this and how do you see it?
My initial thoughts was, thank God I am not baby mama out here. Listen, Poons on lock. So that was my initial thought. I did feel like this is indicative of a mindset that is growing. I do have a question for the chat though. Do we think Cam is low functioning? That was the word of the day. That was the first time I heard that term. So I was like, whoo, this might be something that needs to get some legs, honey. I think that the key thing that also stood out to me was when he said that his fear of marriage is higher than his fear of divorce. And I think we need to explore that. Oftentimes I feel like maybe there's avoiding doing some personal work on self in order to be in a healthy, committed relationship.
I'm not really thinking that he even considers anything to be dedicated. He's so woo-woo on this. I can't even really take him seriously. And I believe that the interviewer that interviewed him did an excellent job on calling him and trying to get him recentered again. And he still was just flying all over the place. We also want to hear what your thoughts are. Okay, we know we're a panel of women today. This is Fly Nubian channel, but we would love to hear from some of our brothers out there as well. What are you thinking about this? What was your initial thoughts? Because we want to hear both sides. So Lindsay, what is your thought on this?
So I didn't see the whole interview. I've only seen that same clip that went viral, like I think most of us have. And I thought it was very selfish. Obviously, I don't know Cam Newton, but what I got from that clip is that him and Nick Cannon too, all of them of this mindset are very selfish. It is hard raising kids. So you don't want the responsibility of a marriage because of your fear of divorce, but the responsibility of raising a child is way higher and a lot more at risk than a marriage. It was very selfish.
I think it was very selfish. And can I throw a cog in the wheel? You're so afraid of divorce, but what, you ain't afraid of that child support?
Right.
Because I mean, y'all look at him. He's got the cutest babies. Listen, I'm always for the babies. But being able to give them the love and the nurturing that they need is also very important. We're showing a couple of his families and with their mothers, and there's 3 of them. As we said, 8 children. There's 3 mothers, and I want to know why this is okay with the women as well. But I do want to address a couple of the comments that we have. But before we move on to the comments, I threw out there something, guys. I said that he said he was more afraid of getting divorced than having more children, but that children comes with financial responsibility. Moya, I mean, you're a tax professional. Yes, there's a thing called tax credit for children, but should he keep going?
Well, one of the comments that was just posted right now, they talked about how much his contract was worth. So when he was in the league, it's rumored that he had a contract for $100 million. So I don't know if he's really super worried about the cost of child support. My only thing is, what makes him think that he's going to be much better of a father just by giving them money? It feels like there's more to it. Like, what does he want? Like, does he want to like start his own league? Does he want to say like, I can have 5 of my kids go to the league. We can all get $100 million contract. Like, what is his goal right now? I don't get it.
Well, somebody in the chat said, isn't that a show already? 8 is enough. Yeah, I think that 8 is enough. Now, I'm going to twist it back to what we said about the women. Um, Athena, you're single, you're still dating. We've discussed many times how the dating pool is kind of shallow in the fact of finding someone. I try to put that the best way possible.
I'm trying to keep a straight face when you're like lining it up. I'm trying to keep a straight face. Go ahead.
Right. So, do you think that women accepting this type of behavior, and because now polygamy is also in our community, do you see this as acceptable for something in your life? And how would you handle this if you had already had children with someone and he's doing the same thing with other women?
I'm single again, back on the prowl. I thought it was worth. Listen. Okay, so this is my thoughts on this. I know poly and polyamory and all this is the wave, and we're trying a new thing, this, that, and the third. I've actually had mentors who have had, I guess they were Muslim, Islam, whatever, those type of marriages where the man can have X amount of wives. Ladies, first of all, ooh, that's tambourine. I guess the spirit was coming through. First of all, the man will always have a favorite. He always got a number one. So if you ain't a number one, you in the lineup back there. Two, I don't think that, especially where we are as a group, as a collective, as a Black community in America, I would not advise women to sign up for the baby mama child support wave, even if the man is an athlete, because I'll tell you why. All right, say we use the example of Cam and that $100 million contract. Uncle Sam taking 40% of that. His agent is taking X amount of percentage of that. His legal team is taking X amount. By the time you're done that, it's maybe 30%? Okay. So that's 30 million over how many years of a contract? Plus the spending and all of that. So that's separate from any endorsements. But what I'm saying, these men don't have that kind of money like that. I think Mick Cannon, baby mamas are on like a $10K a month payment. So you want to get $10K a month because your ass probably don't want to work as a woman. Let's be honest. And you want to deal with your child growing up, not having a full-time father around, all these, not getting the care and attention. And you think in the beginning, you signing up, okay, at least I'm going to have my bills paid. Mm-hmm. Having a man's ability to pay your bills won't fulfill you in a relationship. I have known plenty of rich women who have left their husbands because they didn't devote the time and energy it was needed. So
I agree with that. And we have some really great comments that I want to pull up because they're comments that make you go, So G Powers at 606, she said, I blame the women, period. Wow. I love all the women's eyes got really big. Moya, I want to hear your thoughts on that because you went, and I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I blame the women, period. So let's say, Athena, let's say that they went in thinking that they were the only one at first. Like the first one, I don't know in that picture if that was his first one. It looks like they had, 3 to 4 kids. I'm thinking you're going in, 3 kids and then 1 on the way. And then saying like, what if I'm different? Isn't that always the case? Don't we always feel like I'm going to be the one that changes him? Yeah. Like, I'm going to be that. And then I'm going to give him these kids. I'm going to show him the best that I could possibly ever give a person, a human being. And I'm going to make sure I stay looking good. I'm going to make sure all of these things. And he's going to change. So like, is that wrong for a woman to think that?
Yes. Cue Mary J. Blige not gonna cry. This is why I said, listen.
I think
get that paperwork, marriage certificate, deed, and life insurance, and then we can talk. That's why they don't want to get married, because they don't want to be accountable and go through the headache of a divorce and be responsible. And that's why my daddy told me, regardless of anything, you still need him to marry you. So go.
Yeah, what we say, my mama always said, don't buy the cow You know, if you got the free milk, and I know that seems old school and old country, but that was taught to me and instilled in me over and over and over. Janelle Matthews says he seems cocky and condescending and didn't understand what the doctor was saying about a family. I do want to make a correction, because y'all know if I do something wrong and I find out that it is something wrong, it was actually his show. But girlfriend was running it like it was her show, breaking things down. So that's why I thought it was her show. And then also Tiffany at 610 says, also of not knowing who's in the house, who's influencing your kids, right? Do you not want to be the biggest influence in their lives? Do you love them enough to give them an unbroken home? Lindsay, man, that right there is a word to be said. And what words do you have to add to that?
That's what I was getting at earlier. So you're okay with your fear of divorce, but you are clearly also okay with passing down those traumas to your children, because yeah, you might be a great dad when you're present with them, but how often are you truly present with those children?
Exactly. Can we pull up the pictures of these beautiful babies again? Let's see them once again, because I want y'all to look at these babies, how precious they are. Now, the first mother is Kia Proctor, and she has 4 children. The second is Lorena Shaw, and she has two. Was it 3 or 2? And then Jasmine Brown has the third baby, I do believe. The 8th baby. Well, I done lost count already, y'all. Look how many it is. I can't even keep up. So how the mama's keeping up? Oh Lord, this is just too much for me. I don't understand. So
Listen,
I don't. I can't. I mean, my family was split. I mean, my birth mother, I'm the oldest on my birth mother's side. I'm the baby on my father's side. Now, my birth mother wasn't a part of my life, but she had umpteen kids, and 5 that I know of. And we were raised completely different. So there was no dynamic between me and the mother. There was nothing at all. So, and she didn't seem to care how many children she had either. So I'm coming from a female perspective, knowing that my birth mother, y'all, we stopped counting at like 17. I kid you not. She had a couple of twins in there, and you don't hear about the woman's side of doing that as well. But a parent not there, period, is always going to affect the child. I grew up wanting to know about my mother, even though I knew I was in a better situation. But who did I look like? Because everybody kept saying, you look like your mama. Do you know, you sound like your mama? And you're like, who's this lady? So I wonder just how much quality time this man can give these babies, especially when he keeps saying that, you know, he wants more. So do you think it's fair for Cam to avoid marriage because of his fears, yet continue to have more children? And what kind of message does this send? Who said no? Athena?
I did. It's not fair at all. It is not fair at all, because those babies are going to feel something when he's not present with them. Listen, it is hard to raise children, period. It is hard to raise children in a 2-parent household, let alone a 1-parent household with multiple houses. It takes a lot. Like, I can speak for myself. I have 2 children with my husband. And there are some times whenever he's working a lot, or I have to do this or I have to do that. And if I think it's hard with a fully present husband that's in their lives on a regular basis, like, I can only imagine what it's like if I didn't have him 24/7. And how many people feel like that. And then speaking for myself, having a father that wasn't presently in my life, consistently in my life, I should say. I knew who he was. He came around. We had our times. And when I was with him, I was happy to be hanging out with my dad. And I felt like he loved me so much. But when he wasn't there, I had subconscious resentment. It caused me to be a perfectionist. It caused me to be a people pleaser. It caused me to be an overachiever. Obviously, I don't know that as a child, because this is subconscious things that's happening, but it showed up in my behaviors. This is why I preach that you have to heal yourself as much as possible before having a child, especially if you are wanting to not be married or be in a committed relationship and have a child with a committed partner. You have to heal yourself as much as possible, because you are passing traumas on to your child, even if you think they're happy.
I have to agree with that. And what does that say for our next generation of children? That is what concerns me more than anything right now, is that we have to think about the babies. But do you think Cam's fears about divorce are valid, or do they stem from a deeper issue? Do we know that if he was raised by both of his children, by his parents or not? Do we know that? I know, Athena, I always ask you because you know all the things about pop culture.
Probably not. Probably not. But to be honest with you, I have a question that I want to pose to the ladies. Is Cam comments, right? Is that more so him expressing maybe how some men will feel? I wish we had a man on the panel, about maybe it's not really, they don't really care about having kids. Like the kids are just a byproduct. I just want to have sex. I just want to have sex. I want to have raw sex with these women. Like, is it like a sex thing? And I just so happen to have kids. And Cam and Nick Cannon, because they have money, they're like, okay, it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal, right? Because I can afford to have them. Is that where the mindset is coming from? What do you think, Moya?
I think that's a really good question. Like, I could take care of it, so why not? And then I just want to go out and have fun. Like, I could definitely see that whole idea of I want to go out and have fun. The thing that was interesting to me when she said, like, look at Lacey Jasmine Brown right there. Like, how come he didn't say, and like, you know what? I'm currently in a situation. I'm currently in love. I just had a kid, and I would love to have more kids with her. But he went and said, I want God to bring them to me, however, they're brought to me. Like, that's the part that I would have needed some more clarity on. Like, what does that even mean? Does that,
How do you know what it means, Moya?
Listen, that further proves that his desire to birth all these children, well, he's not doing the birthing, but to create all of these children is selfish, because what? Just, God, bring them how they come. Don't bring them in financial stability. Don't bring them in emotional stability and mental stability, but just bring them to me. And here's the thing. We all know money goes and money, like, it flows in and out. How many athletes have gone bankrupt, have then ended up, payday loan? I don't count his wallet, so I don't know how he invests his money, but he could be broke 2 years from now. And then what?
I think especially, and this is my thing, and maybe we can do an episode on baby mama culture, but I think that when you see other cultures of women requiring marriage first, requiring that, okay, you make the commitment in your mind that it's going to be me and you, I think it denotes a higher self-esteem. And I do think that as a collective, Black women have low self-esteem by allowing baby mama culture. Now, if you guys break up or things didn't work out, that's different. But like Jasmine knowingly going into the arrangement, Nick Cannon baby mamas knowingly going into the arrangement, I think that it is indicative of a low self-esteem thing and low sense of self.
So one thing, and I know that, Lala, I'm glad that you're back, but I do want to ask. So Nick Cannon and Cam Newton, are they exactly the same? Like, he's only got 3 different women and he has 8 kids. I thought Nick Cannon has, like, please correct me, but like 10 kids and like 7 different kids' moms. Like, I think it's different, right? Didn't he go in saying like, hey, this is a situation between you and I? But with Cam Newton, because he was there for several years and had several kids over a span of time, like, we're in a relationship. Isn't that different?
No, I throw them all in the same boat. I throw them all, him, Nick Cannon, Future, whoever else in the lineup, whoever else.
I do too.
On the
but guys, it's not just in our community too. Musk is doing the same thing and encouraging people to go out and continue to have all these babies, and his kids ain't happy neither.
I think a lot of these, I don't want to cast aspersions on a whole group of men, but there is a good portion of men who are degenerate and sexually degenerate and who I think indulge in practices like this. And I think that's indicative of that as well.
Well, that's a lot to unpack, and we're not even finished. We just beginning, and we got all sorts of great comments. But if you're just joining us, we done got all the way through here, and I haven't even had a chance to tell you who you're watching. Now, we know we got all these people who are here every day, and we appreciate you, but you're watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't want to miss our show and you love being able to talk to us because we talk back, make sure that you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Guys, I got that down pat. I sing that in my sleep sometimes because that's how good the show is, right? And then if you want to take us on the road with you, get your coffee, get your little energy drink, and you just walking. Maybe you want to take us on your walk with you. You want to hear. Go ahead and download us on Spotify, right? All I got to do is go over there, put in Fly Nubian Money, and give us a 5-star rating, because guess what, guys? That really does help us out, and it means a lot. And we know you love the show. So let's get back into the conversation, because I'm mad about it. I'm going to be real honest. I'm going to be real honest. I think we have enough children from broken homes. And I know that some people are saying this is not a broken home, but yes, it is a broken home. When you don't have both parents there to bounce off other, to the yin and the yang to raising your child, or at least in a very committed relationship where you're sharing responsibility equally, that is a broken home to me. And so, I mean, do you think that how do you think this is going to affect the next generation? Moya, your thoughts on that?
The next generation, I think that's really, really important. And getting pregnant with the men. Yeah. And I think it's also, and I know that someone just commented in terms of why are we getting pregnant while not asking for marriage. I think that all that's important. I know that for me, when I was married, before we had kids, we were married. That was something that was important to us. I still don't know in this day and age, unless we are going to decide that through thick and thin, we are going to stay in this and we're going to work through it. And we were together 14 years. I don't think that automatically means because we were married first before having kids, therefore we're going to stay together.
You know, it's really interesting. I had someone tell me, and I don't know where we were in context about her daughter was getting married to a young man, and he was out there doing everything he can, and this daughter wanted to stay with him, and he ended up getting someone else pregnant before getting married with her. And the family accepted this other young lady because that was their first grandchild. And so my friend was very upset, but she said she'd fooled around and she let that man have a baby with another person, and now she'll never be the one to have the first grandbaby. She was blaming the woman. So this brings me to a question, because Big Mac, we see you, Big Mac. We appreciate you. He said he has a question for us, and I want to hear what we have to say about this. He says, why are women getting pregnant for any man without requiring marriage? Athena.
Listen, Big Mac, you preaching a word today, honey. I wish you was on the panel right now so we can pick your man brain right now. I do agree. I do think that we need to require it for children. Now, I know marriage is not for everybody, and that's cool, right? But if you're not going to have children, of course, we can just be together and write it out. But I think that structure is very important in a child's life. And as a woman who dates men, I can see a difference with the men who grew up in a 2-parent household and the men that don't. Even though they may say it has no difference, I notice a difference. And then 2, what I want to also address from Big Mac, women carrying children, not men. So I personally think women have a little bit more responsibility not to get pregnant. I actually agree with this statement, only because I know, based off experience and what we see in society and in nature, the men are not going to take that responsibility. And you have to be the one at the end of the day to carry that child. So I do think women, especially with women's rights, which may go away with Handmaid's Tale, I do think that women have the responsibility of not getting pregnant because we have so much more to risk.
Well, guess what, guys? We are going to have a special guest that is going to give us a little bit of the other side's views, and we'll be bringing on Dr. Boyce Watkins today so that he can talk to us from the man side. Hi, Dr. Boyce.
What
So
a
good to
special
see
treat
How are
today.
you?
What do we owe the pleasure today?
Yes, we
Oh.
talking stuff.
You know what? Y'all are so smart and so good. And I was listening. And so I heard you mention that you wanted to hear from a man. And I did a podcast episode about this very topic today. And I said, I'm a man. I have something to say. So how you ladies doing today? So good to see you.
Great.
Yes. I you know what? I'm not gonna even start with like too many comments on it. I'll let you. You're doing a great job, Lala, leading the conversation. But you know, I'll say that I was taken aback by what Cam and Nick are kind of doing. It's definitely unconventional, and the way I kind of wanted to address it was more so not in a way that was sort of degrading to anybody, but to really just kind of say that I fundamentally believe that our families are a mess in a way in the African American community. I think we have a big problem with the fact that so many of our kids grow up without a father. In fact, if you look at the fact that 76% of Black children grow up without a father in the house, and so many people we're conditioned to say, "Oh, that's no big deal. That doesn't have an effect." I just say, well, what if 76% of our children grew up without a mother? Would we see it differently? You see people do crazy stuff, and then when somebody says, well, his mother abandoned him when he was 5, you're like, oh, I know why he's crazy, or whatever, right? So I kind of feel like we don't understand how important the father's role is. I don't think women or men, I think some of us have really kind of forgotten this, and I haven't forgotten that. I think about what my father meant for me and stuff like that. So I didn't quite I did not understand why Cam and Nick are doing what they're doing, especially as a father in my own house. I think about how much work it is for me and my wife to take care of these kids, right? A lot of teamwork, a lot of passing the ball back and forth, a lot of covering for each other, blocking for each other, etc. And so I don't agree with it, but I think that, and I'm going to pass it back because I want you to just feel free to ask me any question, but I kind of think that we're not really hearing men in terms of, remember that the key thing Cam said to me that got my attention was when he said, my desire for marriage is outweighed by my fear of divorce. And people say, well, why are you scared? Why are you scared? Well, if the majority of these relationships are dying and you're rich, you've got a lot of options, you're happy with your life, why wouldn't you be a little bit nervous about that? If I get a car and somebody says, well, that car breaks down 60% of the time, I don't know if I want to buy that car, so even though I did get married and I was happy to do it, I kind of heard what he was saying a little bit. And I don't know if we're really addressing that, in the midst of, not that y'all are doing this, you're not doing this. I heard it's a great conversation, but in the midst of everybody shaming and saying, why won't you do it? We're not hearing some of the men as well.
I have a
and
question.
That's what I want to ask you. Oh, go ahead, Athena.
I have a question. Is the fear of divorce, because the statistic is 80% of women are leaving and it's really common issues, right? Is it because they don't, I have a theory that they're not willing to do the work, the empathetic, emotional, interpersonal relationship work with the woman to make sure that relationship sustains? And I think because they're not willing to do that work, they're like, all right, well, I'm just not going to get married, right? Because it takes work to make the marriage work. You know what I'm saying?
I think that the lack of willingness to do the work could be a factor. I heard someone on the panel mention that difference between seeing parents who did the work versus seeing parents who didn't have to do the work. I watched for 50 years. My parents are having their 50th year wedding anniversary this year. So I saw up close marriage, not as the fairy tale that everybody believes it is. Everybody thinks marriage is just like the wedding day. No, it's not. I saw the reality of it. I saw those two people forgive each other at a level that I believe most people wouldn't be able to withstand on both sides. I remember hearing my father say, well, if that's what your mother wants, and that's what we're going to do. I saw my mother super loyal to my father, even when he wasn't a perfect man, whatever that meant for them. You can probably guess. And I'm not even here to say that that's necessarily always the best outcome. I can only say that for those two, if you were to ask them, are you glad you stuck it out for 50 years? They would say absolutely yes, completely.
But maybe if you'd asked them 20 or 30 years ago, I don't know if the answer would have been the same, right? So I kind of feel like the willingness to do the work comes down a lot to culture. So my father, because I saw him do the work and because that's who he is, if my brother and I were to go to him and say, gosh, my wife's driving me crazy, you know, this stuff is stressing me out, he would say, go home to your wife. This is what you don't do. This is you got to respect her. You know what I mean? Whereas if I came home and every time I came home, I came home to a parent who never had to make that sacrifice, I might get a different answer. Like, well, if it's too hard, you know, you got to do what's best for you, and you got to think about your happiness, and that's where I think I end up getting off the bus for some of our culture, because I never ever made the decision to start a family or to head a family with my wife, thinking that my feelings were the most important thing in the room. You know, if I wanted my feelings to be paramount in every decision I made, I would probably be single, because I was not unhappy as a single person. I'm happy as a married man. I was happy as a single man. So I think culture matters, and I don't know if we think about that enough.
But that's where my question comes in, because we discussed that, you know, we teach these things in our family. We're the ones who are there giving the children the role model to see. But is it our responsibility as women, for young ladies and men, to also be the guiding light to say, hey man, let's go have coffee. Let's talk about some things, and just become a mentor to someone who you feel like you could help to see things differently, or to explain what being responsible really looks like. Are we dropping the ball as mentors and mentees in women and men?
I think that's a good question. I think that, I think our young people need mentorship. I don't know if mentorship though is the same as just raw experience. You know, it's like I really honestly think about marriage like running a marathon. You know, when I ran my first marathon, it was horrible. It was like, there's nothing more depressing than to run 17 miles and then have somebody say, you only got 9 miles to go. You know, it's terrible. And so, you know, the difference was that when I ran the marathon, I ran with my wife, and she was a marathon runner. Now, if I had tried to run a marathon with a sprinter, I wouldn't have gotten very far. And I think that sometimes we get married to people who are sprinters and not marathon runners. You know, they've never been trained. If you took Noah Lyles, the fastest man on earth, and asked him to run a marathon to save his life, he couldn't do it. And so I think how people are built, what their value systems are, makes a big difference. And I would just say, I don't tell people that they should or should not get married. I just say, make sure you know what you're getting into, and make sure you start this institution of marriage. This almost like starting a business. Start it with somebody who's ready to do the same level of work that you're willing to do, because it does kind of stink to have one person doing all the work and the other person not doing all the work. I don't, honestly, just to be quite frank, I don't see Nick and most of the celebrity guys I know, a lot of them, honestly, to be honest with you, are not usually built to do all that work. You know, you got 1,000 pretty women chasing you down and stuff. And it's like, well, why would I go talk to her when I can just go talk to someone who's going to be nicer to me or whatever? And I think the question becomes, if you're not built for marriage and you know this, does that undermine your right to reproduce? You know, because I think what Nick is saying, and again, I'm not going down the Nick Cannon camp. I think he's creating a lot of challenges for himself. But you know, if he's a guy that says, look, I don't want to get married because I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to be shamed because I did something, I broke a rule. So instead of me making a promise I can't keep, I'm just going to still have children because that's my right to do that. Who are we to tell him that he can't do it? I don't know. That's obviously between him and his kids. But I do think, though, to your point, that he's going to have some challenges with the kids. I think the kids are going to grow up and they're going to feel like they missed out, some of them. And it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, I do too. There was a question for you about, do you see this as any different than the poly situation, like the poly marriages? I can tell you, I kind of see that differently because they still work together, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
It's definitely different from poly because, you know, I don't think people are allowed to completely live their truth in their relationships. I think that I would actually feel better for Nick's kids if they did. It's like, look, man, you're making all this money. Okay, buy 7 houses on the same street and just, you know, y'all all live in the same little neighborhood. That way, at least you're maximizing things for the kids. And again, it's a bias, but my bias is that when we have children, what we want and our happiness is secondary. It's the kids. We got to protect them emotionally. And I think so many of our kids are traumatized and damaged. And I just see it everywhere and it breaks my heart. And I just wish we were able to be more conscious of that.
Yeah, I do too, because it seems like everything right now is always me, me, me. Lindsay, I know that you had something that you would like to interject to this conversation as well.
Yes, I know the one comment had mentioned that we are not hearing the fear that Cam has, but what makes you think us women don't have those same fears? We do, and this goes back to my point earlier that I said that this is why we have to be intentional about healing, because if Cam was willing to heal that fear that he has of divorce, then he can attract women that have also done the healing work, and they can make a decision together that we both are healing ourselves and we're going to enter this relationship doing the best that we can. Now, we know that marriage is not the end all be all. People still end up getting divorced, but if I'm healed as much as possible as I currently can be, and you're healed as much as possible as you currently can be, and we decide together, then our chances of overcoming that statistic is much, much greater than those people that are just doing whatever they want, not willing to do the work, because it takes emotional work, mental, physical, spiritual, financial work. All of those things are included in creating a healthy marriage. And we know also that all marriages, you don't have two happy, healthy parents. They also need to do some healing. So it always goes back to, we have to be willing to heal. And we know statistically that Black men, the Black community in general, aren't, prone to therapy, especially Black men. So we have to go back into that discussion of what are we willing to break and not pass down to our children so that we can create an effective and prosperous mental health, spiritual health, physical health, financial health, all the health of the child that we're supposed to be raising and protecting.
I couldn't agree more. That's where we also need to start within ourselves, seeing that getting therapy there's nothing wrong with getting therapy. If you had all the answers, you wouldn't be going through the problems that you got. Sometimes you need to have someone from the outside look in and to help guide you. Moya, I'd like to hear some of your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we really have to consider is there's something going on that we're really not addressing with this Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and their whole mindset of women. I feel like men nowadays, their pinnacle is, I just need to get rich and wealthy. Once I do that, and the role of a woman has now been minimized to, what do you do? Like, isn't that always the question they ask women? What do you do? Like, you cook, I can pay someone to do that. You clean, I can pay someone to do that. So now the role is just minimized to the bare minimum of, you only procreate. I only have you here when I need you to procreate, and that's it. And I think healing is important, but we have to really come back together to say, what's the role of a great woman and a great man and how they can make a great family versus just this minimized level of who a woman is within the scope of a relationship. I don't feel like there's something happening in our society that we haven't really done.
Yeah, it's always when my thoughts are here's what I feel like a lot of times happens. People only listen to hurry up and get their thought out to the next thing instead of actually listening to what the problem is or what your significant person is saying to you. You're so anxious to get out your comments and your thoughts and your feelings that you don't listen to the other party and respond respectfully. Because if you continue to talk over top each other, you never can get to that thought. If you are just now joining us, you are in for a treat. We've got our special guest here. Dr. Boyce is here with us today to give us a man's perspective on what we're talking about today. We are Fly Nubian Money. We're here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss an episode. And how do you not miss an episode? All you have to do is take this little assistant right here and text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. And you'll be notified every time we go live. Now, listen, we could tell you we love guests. We told you we love guests. And if you feel like you want to come on and talk to us too, all you have to do is email us. It's real simple. Do this assistant again and pull that on out and email us at info@reelvirtual.net. That's info@realvirtual.net. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to twist this story around a little bit. We've talked about Cam. We've talked about how many children. We've talked about broken homes and things of that nature. But let's flip it to the other side, because today we're going to address that Judge Mathis's marriage will be ending in divorce after 40 years, almost 40 years. His wife has decided to file for divorce, and she's just unhappy in the relationship. And being married myself 31 years, and I know you said, Dr. Boyce, your parents have been together 50 years. I just can't imagine how this feels to both of them after being together for so long. She's stood by his side for many years, but she's also feeling that she's no longer getting satisfaction from the relationship as well. 40 years is a long time. Dr. Boyce, I'm actually going to start with you because I know you're married. How would you, if someone is not getting served after 40 years, do you think this is something a long time coming, or maybe a new self-realization in a relationship?
Probably a long time coming. I personally think that being married to a celebrity is different from being married to a regular person. And I think I've just seen stuff get real weird and messy and everything else. And it's sad, you know, and I'm sure it's sad. I don't know if they have kids or not, but the kids are sad. And it almost makes you wonder, like, is there a point where you say, look, we've done 40 years. Like, we might as well finish running to the finish line. You know, but then again, maybe you say, you know, I'm going to go out on the dating scene and try it again. But like, I just had a conversation with a woman I know who's 68. And she had real issues with her husband, you know, a lot of the standard stuff. And now he actually died. And it was interesting because she wasn't real sad that he died, which is kind of sad to hear. And now she was like on the dating apps, trying to figure the world out, you know, because it's changed since 1987, you know, and I just don't know what to say in that situation. I mean, that's hard. So it's like, choose your hard, right? Is it easier to just deal with the person I've been dealing with, or is it easier to go deal with this world that I don't understand? I'm not here to judge it for anybody. I just think it's sad. And I think it also speaks to the idea that I don't believe that when you talk about something as emotional as, you know, as dating, mating, and procreation, that we are always as thoughtful and do our due diligence as much as we should. I see people that'll spend more time researching maybe the profession they want to go into or the university they want to attend than they spend studying, you know, the situation they're entering into when they get married. I mean, you're really talking about your life. And to me, I'd want to just really, really take my time and get to know that person, study the process, learn how to maximize once I've selected that person. You know, that's the therapy, that's the reading the books together, that's learning all the tools, getting the mentors and all that, so that when you make that commitment, you're able to create the best situation you can. Because when you try to reverse all that, especially after 30 or 40 years, that's hard to do.
Listen, before I grew up with my mother telling me, and this is what keeps me going. And I always tell this to any of my nieces, nephews, friends, children. What's your therapy for? What's your answer to being married for so long? My mother told me, baby girl, you married that man for a reason. There are many reasons that you fall in and out of love during the course of your marriage. And during the times where you're feeling out of love, you need to sit back and really think about the times that you wanted to marry this person in the first place and work toward that feeling that you had before you said I do. That has saved me a many time. And many of the people who I've given that advice to said that comes into their play too. So this marriage is hard work. It's not just like you said, you don't get in this marriage and be like, I'm on a honeymoon every day. You know, someday you don't have good days and you have to uplift one another. Or if you disagree, be able to disagree and then go breathe and come back together. So this is really hard for me to swallow, in the fact that I know that they've been together for so long and she feels like she hasn't been served. So Linda is saying that he isn't prioritizing their relationship after 40 years. So I'd like to hear what you think, Lindsay, because you're married. I had to think of who was married on my panel. Do you think that work life plays into the long-term relationships?
Definitely, definitely. We really have to be intentional about, okay, you got your work time, but you also need to prioritize family time as well. And it's not always going to be an even slice of the pie. You know, maybe in this season, work is a little heavier, but in this season, work is a little lighter and family is heavier. But from what I've heard about the Mathis's divorce is that he was always on the work side and never really prioritizing family, and she just got fed up. Obviously, I don't know all the details behind their marriage, but we have to be intentional about, okay, I am going to make my family a priority in my life, because what are we really doing it for anyway?
Right. Now, there has been an insider that is close to Linda that, because you always have insiders that's always going to come out and talk, right? Or a book or somebody telling everybody business. But, she said that Linda sacrificed her whole life for Judge Mathis and that he's been working 24/7 for the better part of the last 30 years. Her friend also continued to say that Judge Mathis promised Linda that he would slow down and they could travel the world together and enjoy the rest of their lives. But he's not trying to slow down. Linda's decision to file for divorce reflects her desire to prioritize her own well-being and happiness. Life is too short. And if Judge Mathis wants to run, I don't think she's ready to run with him. How do you feel about those comments, Moya?
The
I think she's muted.
she's like getting muted, unmuted. Okay, so I think what happens is that we have to, and it's very difficult, but you have to know the vision of the person that you're going to marry. And many times when you're with the person, it doesn't appear to be very clear. But if you listen to what they say and listen to what they're not saying, you're going to get an understanding of, what does this person truly think beyond this moment, and does my vision match? Like, she could have seen Judge Mathis 40 years ago and said, wow, I like the fact that he's hardworking. And I know that we're going to have a very stable marriage and I'm not going to really want for anything. So let me just super stick this out. But in reality, she probably wasn't really looking for this hard working man. She just wanted somebody that just covered everything, like the bills, but not so ambitious. So I think it's important to know what type of partner I'm going to have. Am I going to be okay with someone who's really ambitious? And you have to be okay with that person. And I'm also curious if part of this is to kind of test him to see, can you do without me? You've been with me for 40 years. Like, can you really do without me?
That's a dangerous thing, though, because you might not get the answer that you want, right? And that could be heartbreaking in itself. Many of our viewers are saying that, yes, they have children and they also have grandchildren. So now we always think of the children, but now we also have to think about the grandchildren as well. This is another generation that this is going to affect. But this also ties into our first part of our show. So Cam said he's afraid, right? And now we're talking about a couple that has been together for 40 years and now they're separating. So what lessons can younger couples learn from this experience regarding the work balance and prioritizing their relationships? Athena.
Well, I think that going back to what I asked Dr. Boyce, his wife was asking for us to slow down. His wife was trying to prioritize him because he was working 70, 80-hour schedules. They met in college. She did not know he was going to go and be the Judge Mathis of today. And instead of taking the time to slow down and prioritize a quality time, he's prioritizing his career, his money, everything about him. So at some point, you have to come to the table and be like, okay, where are my needs being met? I do think that men do have reasons to be fearful of divorce. I actually do think that, because there's a shift occurring in women. And I think back in the days, women were, more along the lines of, no matter what, I'm going to stay with this person. Nowadays, the energy has shifted. I think women are very much so thinking about themselves and their needs and really questioning if those needs are being met in relationship. And what a lot of the men are finding is that, which probably heightens the fear, if I do not take more time to be intentional and put in that work to nurture my relationship and keep that woman happy, she will leave me even after 40 years.
Now, I'm going to throw that to you, Dr. Boyce, because I can ask you this same question that I asked Athena, because you are also married to someone also very successful. You both have successful careers and you both have different work areas. How can someone look in and see that this work balance can still work for their relationship? The younger generation looking to see, and how Cam is seeing it. You're doing it. I'm doing it. It can be done.
Well, you know what? I'll say this, Lala. That's a great question, and you're really making me think on this. Marriage is complex. I think comparing it to owning a business is a good comparison because it's an institution that can really benefit you in a lot of ways. Financially is one of them, but in other ways as well. And like any other any other kind of business, how you run it is going to determine whether it makes your life better or destroys your life. And that requires skill. It requires a certain amount of commitment, sacrifice, a good business partner, etc. And so the way I personally became comfortable, because I've seen women evolve through time. Most women today are not like my mother. My wife is not like my mother. They look alike and they're in the same profession. It's funny, they say you marry your mom, and I did. I think because they look so much alike, but they're different. You know, they're built. I don't know if my wife could be married to my dad, if you know what I mean. So that meant, in my view, that out of my respect and my love and appreciation for Black women, I had to evolve with that. And also, um, I made a decision to say my energy is going to be collaborative, not competitive, and that's really true with any other Black person out here. Like even in politics, I say I'm not going to fight you over Democrat, Republican. I want to collaborate with you. I want to learn from you. That's it. I'll fight. I'll fight with you against a bigger problem, but I'm not going to fight you over something silly. So the same thing is true. I think with my wife, it's like, okay, she's kick ass. She's good at what she does. She's amazing. Sure, I could be negative about that, right? Maybe, some people jealous, insecure. What benefit is that? How does it help anybody? It diminishes her, it diminishes me. It doesn't, we're not winning, right? So it's like, no, let me just see which way the stream is flowing, and I'm just gonna roll with the wind, and we're gonna get behind it and push it, and accelerate that and cheer it on, right? So she can be the best she can be. So that was a conscious decision that I had to really process in terms of how to be that kind of person in my marriage. And the last thing I'll say on this is really simple. And this is all opinion. This is not scientific fact, because we're trying to figure the world out. I believe in a relationship and marriage, there are things that are going to happen that you don't expect. You got your knowns, your unknowns, and then you got your unknown unknowns. Like you really don't know what life is going to be like in the year 2045, or what decisions you're going to have to make, or what opportunities are going to arise, or how things are going to change. So you have to, it's easy to understand the knowns. It's easy to kind of even commit to some of the unknowns, but the unknown unknowns requires a level of faith and consciousness that goes above and beyond this sort of idea that says, well, if something unexpected happens, I'm going to leave because I didn't expect all that. I didn't think I was going to see all that. No, expect the unexpected, right? And commitment to me means that you say, I'm ready for the unknown unknowns. I'm ready for one day for my wife to come in the house and be a crazy person. I'm ready for something weird to happen that I never thought was going to occur, because my commitment to my marriage is bigger than my commitment to my wife as a person. It's a commitment to an idea that says, I said I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this thing, period. And that also requires a certain degree of humility to just say that, sometimes she's going to she may decide to go become, a mountain climber in Alaska. And I'm going to hate that maybe and say, damn, I want to stay here in Chicago. But no, my wife is going to be a mountain climber in Alaska. I can't stop her. I might as well find a way to support or coexist in that space. But I would prefer not to say, oh, I'm going to divorce you now because this unknown occurred that I didn't expect. So that to me, I think just requires a type of humility that I don't think is really very popular anymore. I really don't. I think that people make fun of people who say, yeah, I'm up here willing to simp for my wife. Yes. And I'm hoping, they have the term for women, they call them pick-me's, where they are accommodating to their husbands and supportive and all that. Well, the pick-me's get picked, and the simps stay married. But you ain't gonna call me no simp, because that's not what I call it. I call it being a solid man. And my goal is to be as solid as I can be
Like
for the people
Russell
I care
Wilson.
about, period. That's it. So I'm done. Thank you for letting me get that out. I didn't mean to say so much. As you can tell, this is an emotional topic for me too. I think it affects everybody. So
it does, but we're tackling it. And that's what I love about this show, is that we do tackle it and we listen to other people's opinions, and it's never a you're wrong, you're right type of situation. It's let's get together and see what we can do about the solution, right? And there are a couple comments I do want to address. C. White says, I think men feel like they will miss out on money to support the family if they take a break from work. I think that's a valuable, because men are providers. They want to provide for the most part. You always say you never lump everybody together, but for the most part, men want to be able to provide. And I think that is an issue. Big Mac also says, stop with she sacrificed her life. She's a grown woman who made choices. But he also says, but her husband should spend more time with her if that's what she truly wants. There's always going to be a give and a take in any kind of relationship. You do it at your job. You do it everywhere that you go. And even in churches, you're giving and taking. Even in politics, you're giving and taking. So there is no difference in a marriage. Boy, did we get this topic going. We are really hopping. We got a lot of people who have got comments. Keep the comments going, guys, because you know what? Even when we're not live, we go back and we read those. And we also put in our comments there, y'all family, your family won't talk back to you. But before we end this up, I always want to get everyone's final thoughts and then let us know where we can find you. So let's start with you, Moya. What are your final thoughts on our two stories today, and where can we find you?
So my biggest thought is really just being able to really have an understanding of what you're looking for in a partner and what you're really expecting. I like what Peter Alma said when he said, relationship is a spiritual institution. And that's because it really is. You guys are really connecting on a level that you never even thought you would. And so if you know what you want in your life, even as Dr. Boyce said, the unknowns of the unknowns, I think you still have an idea, a centerpiece of what you would like your life to evolve into. And so just always staying true to that, I think will help relationships prosper. And I'm Moya Smith, and you can catch me on Instagram at moya.business.
Make sure you go check her out. Yeah, she's our tax professional and she can help you. So make sure that you go and tap that like button and then communicate with her as well, because we'd love to talk to you on personal levels as well. Athena, what is your thoughts on both of these pretty topics? There was a lot to unpack, and we could probably talk about another 5 hours. And then also, where can we find you?
What I want to say is this. I think that both men and women need to look at ourselves, and we are living at a time where we have shifted from certain dogmas of what we should do. Now we're questioning what values, what characteristics, what are the things that we want for ourselves in our lives, and who is the type of person and partner that we want to have that best complements that. And I think the issue with our community especially is that there needs to be a lot of nurturing of character development, personal development, and self-improvement in certain emotional, mental, and intellectual areas in order to facilitate us coming together. My name is Athena Gardner. I'm a CPA and founder of We Wealth Women. You can find all things about me at wewealthwomen.com, at We Wealth Women on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and listen to me at the We Wealth Women podcast.
And as you know, she's got wealth in the name, and that's what we're all about here. We help people build their wealth, which, by the way, don't forget, guys, y'all could go to our website, flynubianmoney.com. Lindsay, I'm going to throw it to you now.
So 2 things. Make sure you're taking the time to find and develop your identity, especially if you're looking to be in a committed relationship, because you need an identity outside of your spouse. When you become a parent, you need an identity outside of just being someone's mom or dad, and just understanding who you are and what you desire and what you like. And part of that comes with the second thing, healing. Y'all know I'm going to always preach healing, because I agree with Moya. You need to determine what it is that you want out of your future, out of a relationship. And part of that comes with healing, because what you desire and who you attract when you're broken probably is not going to be the same thing as what you desire, as who you attract, and what you're willing to put up with or settle for or accept in your life as when you're a whole person. So it's important to remember that you are finding yourself, doing self-care and practicing healing so that you can be the best you moving forward for yourself and any future relationship. So my name is Lindsay Vertner, international mindset coach and speaker, and you can find me at liveafirstclasslife.com. Thanks.
My woo-woo sees your woo-woo, and we woo-woo together, and I love it. Make sure that you go and check out and get your mind right. We always say mind, body, and spirit, right? And don't forget those finances. Now, our special guest, we're going to throw it to you for your final thoughts, Dr. Boyce, and where can we find you? Not that then nobody knows how to find you, but we know what we want to know, where you want us to go.
Well, I want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the fact that you listened. That means a lot. And my name is Boyce Watkins, and my website is boycewatkins.com. So people can check me out there, or Dr. Boyce Money is my Instagram. My final thought on this topic is that our families are important. That's our $1 trillion asset that is being significantly underutilized. That's been harmed through no choice of our own. And I personally would encourage anybody who wants to be collaborative with other people in your community, whether it's building a family, building a business, or anything, to do the healing that was discussed earlier. That's critically important. Also work with other people who are willing to do the healing. Now, if you're going to do the work with people who are willing to also do the work. Then you can do the work together, and don't give up on each other. I think that in our space, we should really kind of be careful about how we talk about our women, how we talk about our men, because we're all we got, and our kids are even more important than we are. So don't let nobody destroy our families. We can do this. So that's my final thought. Thank you for allowing me to join you.
And we are so happy to have you. And so listen, guys, I have some final thoughts too. Guess what they are? Somebody else's path may not be yours. Don't follow in other people's footsteps if they don't fit your life journey. It's as simple as that. You can cut down on all this mess that we've talked about today as long as you have a basic understanding with the person that you have that relationship with. You get that understanding in place in the beginning, and then there won't be any right and wrong because you're walking that path together. So somebody else's footprints may not fit yours. Just make sure that you be the best person that you can be, and you're the light in the world, and help us to create other people in the future generations to give them light as well. You can find me at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. I'm an international real estate agent. I specialize in the United States on both coasts and also Portugal, which, guys, had a little bit of an earthquake today. So that's all over the place. So we thank you for joining us. We love everybody who comes in. We know we've got our dedicated people. And if you're new, you're watching Fly Nubian Money. We're here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you don't want to miss any of our shows and this great conversation, all you have to do is text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Then if you can't catch us and you're on the road or you're going jogging down the street and you want to hear some good things going on in your ear, go ahead and download us over on Spotify. Just look up Fly Nubian Money. And then when you get over there, give us a 5-star rating because it really does help us. But finally, I want to tell you that we can help you get your money right and your money tight. That's what this is all about, right? We want to be able to get your financial house in order and to pass it down to the future generations. So go to our website, Fly Nubian Money. We have plenty of resources and courses there. That's where you can start. Sometimes you get so worked up about you don't know where to start, but we're giving you a start, because once you have that start, you can see the goal line. Finally, we appreciate you, and you'll see us again tomorrow. Don't miss it, because we got great topics. Have a blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.